History is not just the evolution of technology, it is the evolution of thought. Good evening all, I'm Perera and I warmly welcome all of you to the fourth session of IEEE Techno Meetup Sri Lanka. It is also my pleasure to welcome our moderator, Mazin Hussain, Editor-in-Chief at ReadMe.lk, and also our panelists for today's session, Thilina Premasiri, Director and Head of Game Development at Arimac, Anish Wijesinghe, Founder and CEO of Motion Miracles, and also Poorna Perera, 3D artist at LiveRoom. IEEE is the world's largest professional organization dedicated to advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. IEEE Sri Lanka section is one of the most active sections in the region 10, which follows the motive. The IEEE Techno Meetup Sri Lanka is one of the 4 initiatives which was taken by IEEE Sri Lanka section Student Activities Committee to empower the youth with technological advancements. Over the past years, Techno Meetup has brought to you knowledge about different topics and trends which are related to cutting-edge technologies in the industry. Even in these times of difficulties, we were keen on bringing you the technological advancements in the world virtual platforms. We hope we were able to enlighten your minds with the knowledge we brought, and also with different initiatives such as Tech Innovator and Let's Break Through, especially in this pandemic situation. Unlike the previous meetup sessions we held over the years, under the monthly theme of game development, we have organized a rather special event today, the Untapped Potential of Game Development, a virtual panel discussion led by eminent speakers of the field of technology, which primarily focuses on game development. This is another informative session organized by the IEEE Techno Meetup Organizing Committee that never fails to bring out the best of the cutting-edge technologies for tech enthusiasts. I hope this session will enlighten you on game tech, and also it will cause interest in all of you in the game development. Before we step into the discussion, let me introduce the partners of today's event. Knowledge partner, Motion Miracles, the game development and animation studio that focuses on PC, console, and mobile platforms. The digital media partner is ReadMe, your source for everything that happens in the Sri Lankan IT industry. Moving on to officially initiate the event, let me introduce the moderator of this interesting panel discussion. He is a journalist in the tech industry with over 7 years of experience. Currently, he serves as the editor-in-chief at ReadMe. He is forever fascinated by the impact of technology and how it's reshaping organizations, economies, and society as a whole. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Mazin Hussain, the moderator of today's special event, to proceed with the agenda.
Thanks very much, Timeth, for that colorful introduction. And to kick things off, I would like to welcome everyone joining us today, both here on Zoom and on Facebook. Before we dive in, a few housekeeping rules. Please keep your mics on mute. And if you have questions at any time, feel free to drop a chat message. You can send it to the hosts who can forward it to us for during the Q&A session or at any time throughout. And we'll be diving into the discussion. So before we go in, let me just tell you a little bit about the gaming industry. Is that it's expected to generate about $159.3 billion this year. That's a very healthy year-on-year growth of 9.3% despite the coronavirus. In contrast, the film industry and both the music industry have been completely eclipsed by gaming. And this is a huge industry which Sri Lanka is yet to tap into. So today, let's explore how Sri Lanka can tap into this industry of game development. And I'm not alone here. I got 3 very great experts in game development joining us today on this panel. So let me give you a little introduction about them. First off, we have Thilina Premasiri, who is a graduate from the University of Moderator, has over 5 years of experience in software engineering. He specializes in digital interactions, game development, and human-computer interaction. He's currently serving as the head of game development at Arimac, the folks behind the locally built AAA game Kanchayuda, and they're currently working on another AAA game, Nero, which I'm personally very excited about. Next up, we have Poorna Perera, a self-motivated 3D artist and AR VR developer. Currently working as a 3D artist at LiveRoom, Poorna has 3 years of experience in the domains of 3D graphics and programming. Having graduated from the University of Colombo School of Computing, he is proficient in many game development technologies such as Unity, 3D modeling, texture lighting, rendering, AR, VR, and interaction, just to name a few. And finally, we have Anish Wijesinghe. Now, Anish is a very multi-talented social entrepreneur. In his teen years, he became a leading figure in a community of over 300,000 young 3D designers with his YouTube tutorials. Today, Anish serves as the founder of multiple companies in the realms of gamification, interactive media, and education technology. One of these is Motion Miracles, which is the company behind the hit game Tie and Die, which received over 1 million downloads in the first week and hit number 4 overall and number 2 in its genre on the App Store in the US. They've also worked alongside the creative team of Voodoo Games, which is the biggest company in mobile games. So with this star-studded panel, I'm going to kick things off with something, a bit of a basic question to you guys. In your own words, how would you describe the state of the local game development industry right now here in Sri Lanka? Thilina, could we start off with you? All right, so Thilina might have technical difficulties. Anish, do you want to take over?
Yeah. So I think that, so it's very, I think Thilina came back.
Let's go with right, no, you can continue. I'll continue later.
Okay, sweet. I think my opinion is a bit of a juxtaposition of a lot of people's about the industry. So I would say that it might be a good idea if I can get some other perspectives before I make my comment. But yeah, I guess I'll just do it anyway. But yeah, so in my perspective, I think that it's very much in its very, very early stages. I think just for perspective here, if you look at India, so I think Ubisoft, right? They came to India around maybe 12 years ago, something like that, in the intention of setting up a sort of a base there. 1 billion people, right? So Sri Lanka has what, 23 million or something like that. There's just multiple times bigger, right? So Ubisoft, they didn't have a community of gamers there, right? So we are technically at around like 10 years, like where India was around, I'd say maybe 7 years, because now India is basically putting out so much output, like something like 90% of Red Dead Redemption, one of GTA's, Rockstar, the guys who create GTA, like all the assets came from India, right? Sri Lanka, there aren't any big headquarters, none of them are like really outsourcing Sri Lanka. So that means the infrastructure is very, very like minimal. And I do think that, even universities haven't been able to accommodate proper curriculum for interactive media and training for the industry and, world-class talent. So I think that it's really in its very, very early stages. And so far, all the applicants we've seen, if I was to just give just a basic like upfront shebang thing, every single applicant we get, we pretty much reject upfront, and then we put them through our training because there's no training here, right? We literally, I think we work with people nowadays. We work with people so much longer, and we try and support them while they train themselves again. They have their career, right? They have to make money. So what we do is we actually pay them to study, right? So that's how ridiculously bad it is at the moment in terms of proper training for I'm talking about world-class sort of product. And if you're doing like, it depends on the type of work, but we are working with Voodoo, and we're now building up our own self-publishing teams and trying to really make a mark. So it really depends, but that's my answer there. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Anish. There's a few points I want to touch back on there, but for now, Thilina, like, could we have your thoughts, like, on the state of game development in Sri Lanka?
Yeah. So yeah, actually, I agree with Anish to the point that like in comparison with a country like India, but then again, I don't think we have that much of manpower compared to India because of the population and the number of universities and everything. But actually, that's relevant only for like AAA industry in most cases. But when it comes to indie games, it doesn't really matter like how much people we have here. Or it only takes like a small dedicated team in order to make a breakthrough in the industry. But still, in that regard, also we haven't had a huge breakthrough yet. But still, I see here and there people are trying to make things happen. So because of that, it may be kind of in an early stage, but still we are not that young. I think people here are trying to make a name for themselves in the industry at the moment. So I guess like another 1 or 2 years down the road, we will see some colorful careers in this industry in Sri Lanka.
Right, Poorna, is there anything would you like to add there? Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think I really agree with what Anish and Thilina said, because I think Sri Lanka is not that much up to the level, but I think we can improve ourselves into the good game industry, because as Thilina said, like there are so many young talented artists are there here and there. So, but sometimes they don't know whether they have the particular talent or not, because they are just moving to another industry and continue the work. I think it's not in the very basic level, but I think there's a good approach in the next future.
Awesome, thanks, Poorna. So from all three of you guys now, I noticed there was a bit of a common thread here, which is the development of talent, which is like Anish, you mentioned that you have to reject pretty much most of your applicants, like that come through your doors. So they also mentioned that the talent needs to be developed. So I'd like to ask you guys, like, what is it that's lacking, with people when it comes to talent when it comes to game development? Anish, do you want to start off?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. What was the last bit you said there?
Yeah, so just to simplify the question, so what is lacking in terms of talent for game development?
Talent, okay. I don't think, I mean, every country has potential, right? And it's just how we tap into that. And I do think that I think there's a huge cultural barrier for people to really achieve a world-class thing in their careers here locally.
Okay.
When Sri Lankans go abroad, we do amazing things, right?
Yes.
But then if you take that same person who does so amazing abroad and you just keep them in Sri Lanka, they just go, right? And there's a reason for that. I think that, society here plays a huge role in just putting boundaries on a person's full potential, right? That's our role right now. Our role for leaders inside, like, say we're leading a company, we're leading sort of career opportunities. Our role as the initial founders of this industry, really, in Sri Lanka, we should be working with universities and all this stuff to really harness the potential of the people here. There's no doubt about talent, but talent doesn't mean anything. It's like useless, right? At the end of the day, companies resemble output, right? What have you accomplished? Not potential, not anything like that. It's like what has been tangibly displayed. That's the only way you can get any services of a big client to working with Voodoo to whatever it is, right? That's what a company represents. I don't think we can really talk about potential and stuff until we really showcase that. So in terms of talent, I think that we lack a lot of assertiveness. Like every time we have to put our developers under life coaching, which is not a problem. Everyone should go under life coaching and stuff. Like even I go for life coaching, so it's very, very important. So we put them under life coaching to train on assertiveness, on so many things that is lacking in our culture here in Sri Lanka, and so that we can get it out. And there's a common theme with everyone here. Have you guys heard of the personality test by Myers-Briggs?
is this like the different types of personalities that come about, like the INFJ?
Yeah,
that kind of
INTJ,
thing?
INTF, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did this small survey. Turns out 80 to 90% of the company is
Okay.
diplomats, right?
Right.
And when I saw the weaknesses of diplomats, the common weakness is lack of assertiveness and lack of what do you call fear of conflict, right? And what is a
Okay.
company? It's just conflict, right? So
Yeah.
I think that, and so far, so many, it's fine to be a diplomat as long as you know and you're aware that you lack assertiveness, but I don't see that, right? So I think that we need to fundamentally change that, being able to approach conflict, being able to just look it in the face and just do that. And not so many people don't do that. Like I have to push the teams. I put in the requirements, fight the management, and we train them to fight the management now. We have a dedicated life coach to train people on countering management, and the life coach works with me to work with him to be able to like tell me off, right? Stuff like that. So I think those are the root problems that need to be solved in the culture, and then you start to see things growing. It's like in any field, not just game development. If that makes sense.
Okay, so that's a bit of a paradoxical. Like you want your teams to fight you, is it?
Be assertive. Basically, have a voice, right?
Right.
So consider that thought. If someone has a voice, they have a voice in their design as well. They have a voice in the programming, their developments, right? If they don't show that they have a voice, even when it comes to speech or whatever, they're not going to progress in their career because they won't be assertive enough to get what they want, right? I have one person who was the guy who built Time Diet, right? The developer.
Right.
He cried. I should not be saying this, but he cried because I got in the way of one of his developments. And he said, Anish, I don't want you there. Like, come on. And I was like, he was tearing up. But I had so much respect for that. So I just backed off, and then he proved me wrong. Not wrong. He proved to me that he can do this stuff. And that's the type of people that will do incredible work because they're assertive, they know what they want. And then it indicates a voice. And people in Sri Lanka, I feel like their voices have just been pushed down by a lot of cultural thinking around, conservative thinking that does not work in a very creative industry.
Okay, Anish. So now I'd like to direct the question towards Poorna. So now you're a self-taught 3D artist. So I'd like to ask you now, when it comes to nurturing talent for 3D artists and helping them seize opportunities, what do you think is the gaps we have to fill in? What needs to be done there?
Yeah, actually, I've seen in the industry, like most of the people who are dealing with the 3D model creation and things like that. So actually they have the knowledge to create the 3D assets which are relevant for the games. But the problem is that some of the people don't have that optimizations or else the base concepts of the 3D modeling to maintain the nice topology on the models. So in that kind of base concept, when it's coming to that point, so I think they are lacking of having that kind of basement of the 3D asset creation part. I think they are facing too much of troubles when it's coming to the deeper in these technologies as 3D artists. Because when it's coming to these gaming platforms like the real-time rendering platforms, so there are like another special ways that we can build these 3D assets. So in that kind of purpose, like when we ask them to build this 3D asset according to the correct pipeline, so sometimes they are like always trying to give up that pipeline because like they have been practicing another method. That means like due to lack of having like a good expertise knowledge, and also like I think we have started game development before few years ago. We don't have a big history in there. So in the Sri Lankan history, if we have someone like who has worked under the game development industry for many years, then we can get so much of experience of it. So I think we have to do so many research on that one and fill the gaps. So I think I see that kind of issue with the people as 3D artists, because like to grab in the real knowledge and also the more trendy knowledge is like they are think like they are doing the correct thing, and also like when they get something out of our country or maybe another great place who are developing the game. So I think they think like those are very difficult things, so we can't read that place. So I think that if we are able to fill that gaps, we will be able to become a good 3D artist.
Awesome, thanks, Poorna. So Now,
Just a quick question.
yeah,
Am I
Anish.
allowed to ask questions as well? Like,
Oh,
or
feel
is
free.
that your
Like
job?
I would encourage everyone to on this call to ask questions at any time.
All right, I'll pop in every now and then on questions.
Also, feel free. So, Thilina, now I want to throw one question at you. Now, you are of course developing a AAA game, but I want to take you to the opposite end, which is towards indie development. Now, there's a lot of guys like developers, artists, students like who just want to dabble and experiment in building their own game. So, from your experience, like what would you suggest are the three key things, the three main things that they should focus when kickstarting with game development?
Yes. The first thing I want, the first thing I like, I want them to highlight is like they should not think of like when they're trying to make a game. It would be more beneficial if they did not think of it as a like a doing a job.
Okay.
Because like when you think of it as a job, it kind of like you lose the joy of doing that. You should not focus on like when you try to make a game, especially for the first time. Most most of the time you are going to fail, definitely. But that's not a problem, because if you want to make a game, you should be able to enjoy the tiny parts of the process. Like, let's say, to make a game, you have to first make a, let's say, a 3D model, and then you have to implement locomotion on that module, and also you have to implement some AI logic. So it's like developing the complete game is like solving a series of problems, implementing a series of modules. So if you can't enjoy those tiny tasks that you have to do in order to complete and finish your game, uh, if you can't enjoy those things, it's highly likely that you will stop whatever the task in the middle, and you will give up on the project.
Right. So it's
So
like just as you enjoy playing a game, you should also enjoy the process of making a game. Am I correct there?
no, actually, what I want to highlight is like
Okay.
selling a game and establishing your name as a game developer and making a huge profit. That is all good.
Okay.
You should not focus on that bigger price that you will get probably at the end. You should focus on the tiny joy of the tiny tasks that you complete.
Okay, right. So it's like enjoy the journey. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have a little bit of a thing to add on there.
Yeah,
so
please.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Thilina there. And that goes back to like what I was saying about the voice as well, because like a lot of people, I feel like they get stuck in this job mindset because they've been trained or parented from a young day to everything to be sort of this job. You're born in this planet not to have a voice. So as soon as they approach adulthood and into a job sector, it's like everyone's already become a cog instead of becoming a cog with a mind, you know. So I think, you know, one of the biggest criteria at MM when we screening is we give them like these questions where we challenge to see if they're able to showcase that they have a voice, right? That means that they will be able to enjoy their work as well, because they know that this is what I enjoy, right? I enjoy this, so they speak up and they say, I enjoy this. Sorry,
like, can you give an example of one of those questions, Anish, that you asked?
Yeah. So one of the things is I can screen share. It might take a bit of time. Let me just
like, yeah, sure.
Screen share here. Screen share. So we actually go to our YouTube channel, Hamageddon, and we want to understand if the person has a voice when they watch this, right? An artist, right? So we first show, like, you know, so this is one of the animations our team's made, right? Oh shit. No. Oh, what the hell? Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry. All right. So this is one of the animations, but it's not loading. Okay. Amazing. Wi-Fi. Go Wi-Fi. Right, sweet.
Always.
So yeah, so it's like this 2D animation thing with very low quality pixels because, okay, there we go. So we show this animation, and to see if a person has a voice, we ask them right up front, what do you think of this animation? And if they proceed to praise us for everything we've done, like, oh wow, this is amazing, and then we ask them, what do you not like about it, right? And if they're not able to voice anything there, right, because there's so many issues, right? Everyone's watched Pixar animations, everyone's watched these amazing 2D animations. They have an eye to find when something's wrong, but if they don't have a voice, they can't voice that opinion. And if they're struggling, we ask the question 5 times, if they're struggling to say, it's like, okay, that's a big red flag for us. Yeah, so it's one of the things we try and do to identify if people have a voice in terms of their opinions and what they think, and they're able to roast us. Like, we're always roasting each other about our work. Like, there was this run animation. I was literally, I think this part, I shouldn't mention this, but like, you know, okay, I won't mention what happened in the team, but it was like not good. It was a run animation that looked so bad. I literally, for fun, it's like all fun and games because we all love the work, right? So we're all on the same team. I was like, look at this run cycle. This is so bad. And then if no one is able to pick up how bad that was, sorry, I'm like, okay, how do I stop screen sharing? Stop, okay. Yeah, if no one is able to pick up how bad that was, I'm like, you should not be in this field if you're applying for an animation artist and you're like, oh, this is
Right.
So if you get that's my vibe.
Okay, that's interesting. Just a quick note there. I love the anime references there in that animation.
Yeah, that's the team. That's the team. There you go.
Okay, actually now there's this one really good question here from Bhagya that I'd like to throw to the entire panel. What matters the most when developing a game? Is it the engine or the language that we use to code? So Thilina, do you want to take this one up?
The person who do the game.
you got to tell us a bit. You got to tell us a bit more on that. I agree with you, but I think for the benefit of the audience.
Yeah, the engine, the technologies, it doesn't matter. It does matter, but not as much as the mindset of the person who do the game. Because if you get any engine freely available in the market, like I said, Unity or Unreal or whatever, actually most of the market share is owned by Unity and Unreal, so it's highly likely that you will end up with one of them. But also there are stuff like Godot and other engines also, but any of those games are capable of delivering, capable of building a decent game, actually in any good game, because people have done very good games using all of those engines. So
right.
I don't see any problem with any of the engines. So it doesn't really matter. What matters is the execution, the design, the vision, the dedication, the persistence of doing the day-to-day work. Those are the things that matters more. So basically the person. If it is a single person, the person, otherwise it's the team.
Right. Okay, so I'm just going to quote Sachindra here, who just put in the dashboard. It's apparent, like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's very apparent that it's now not really about the technology. Yeah, it's really about how we're able to bring that vision, the creative vision of the game to life.
Yeah, I think it was never about the tech. Pixar wanted to make 3D animations, and they actually built the software to do it, right? So
yeah.
Whatever it takes, it's about the people. At the end of the day, the people might actually hate the concept of building a software, but then they love the concept of making the animation, so they end up enjoying the concept of building the software, right? It's like I think that's the beauty of humanity. It's just like you set yourself on a goal and you learn to enjoy everything, if every part of it. Well, hopefully.
Exactly. Poorna, is there anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, I think I agree with all the things that said by the other panelists. Actually, like even from the Unity and Unreal, people have done some low-level games as well. So actually, it doesn't matter whether you are using a very good level of the game engine or any kind of good programming languages. So I think, yeah, I'm pretty agree with what they say actually. it depends on the person and also the concept that we are going to use for the game actually.
Right. Okay. So now when it comes to, concepts, like obviously we got to figure out, okay, which concept's going to work, which doesn't. So from your experiences, I'd like to ask now, how can you quickly build something, let's say, kind of like a prototype and test out, okay, this is a concept that will work, this game will work, and the players will love it. So can I ask now, starting off, Thilina, could you share how you guys would do it at Arimac?
Yeah, actually, most of the time you wouldn't be confident like, will this work, will it not work? It will be kind of a mystery throughout the process. So you can't really predict accurately like this concept would sell better than this one. Like actually, you can get the idea of the team, but after all, it's the opinion of the team. But what we can do is like when we take like for a design, there are some basic rules, concepts that we can follow. Like I'm not really a designer, so I'm more into programming and technology. But we can assess some concept based on like. Actually, it's hard for me to give how to assess a concept. Give a straight answer for that. But we can do like a couple of testings, like even before we start making a game, we can just get together and talk about it.
Right.
So that would be also beneficial. But in that case, it is possible that the person with the biggest mouth would get the most credit. Like, so that also is not 100%.
Like they will dominate the,
yeah. So, but yeah. So what's the question again?
Okay, so this is about like concepts. Like, how would you test the concept to know, okay, this will work or not?
Yeah,
like,
actually,
if I may go a bit specific, yeah. Now, with Kancha Yuda, when you guys were making it, how are you sure, okay, this is the route we want to take? Like, how did you test things out there?
No, actually, it was not like that at all. So
okay, it wasn't anything like that.
This is what we want to make, and this is what we are going to make. So we don't really, personally, I didn't really care about what the market needs, what other gamers need, nothing at all. I want to make this happen. I want to finish a game, and I'm going to do it. Like, not just me. We want to make a game. We are going to do it this way. So will that sell? Will that no? We don't know, but let's see about that later. So at the moment, the first target was our first target was like completing and delivering a game. So that was our first target. And in the next project, of course, we can't remain like that forever, because as a company, in order to sustain, definitely we have to sell. But at that time, our first goal was not selling. First goal was like testing the team mostly. So yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's a question here from the audience. This is from Sachindra. So I really want to throw this because I think this is an area all of us can really dive in and explore. So what are the different types of roles in game development when putting a game together, basically, from storyboard to coding?
I would like to actually elaborate on the previous question a bit more.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think we are like a juxtaposition of what Thilina was mentioning. And yeah, because I think it's very crucial that, you know, if you think about it, any AAA game, any big game, any game that has been successful to this day, except for maybe indie games and very rare occasions of a hit game, which very rarely happens. And a company should never prioritize that. Otherwise, it's just going to flop out. Imagine a studio is prioritizing just one game, and if that game fails, the company dies, right? So, so what we do is we try our best, from the get-go to identify if the players will enjoy the game, right? It's a different approach. It's a different type of concept as well.
Right.
But even consider AAA games, God of War.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire process, they were playtesting. They had 5 screens up of watching playtesters playing the game and watching and seeing if they enjoyed the game, right? And then the director takes that and passes it on to the team. They hated this, they hated that, and it makes sense why they hated it. And the director spends so much time with the users playing the game, figuring it out. There's so much to it to figure it out, because mass market actually making a hit game, it is a process of understanding the user. So something we do at Motion Miracles is we have a daily budget of $1,000 where we give the teams to test out the games. We onboard every game we build. We onboard 1,000 people to see, and we build games very rapidly. So we take, sometimes at one point, a team of 2 developers were making 8 games a month and testing it into the market and seeing if it could be functional and taking the best game out of that and then pursuing that, right? And then spending time with the users. We also have a playtest group that we send our games to all the time. Every time we make a new prototype. Actually, let me show you once again. I think this is very crucial. And tell me if I'm just going over time.
No, please. Like, this was something I actually wanted to come back on after answering this question. But yes, let's dive in. Like,
right. Okay. I didn't realize.
Since you've already you're on the journey, let's go ahead.
Right. Okay. Sweet. So yeah, this is an example of a publicly available games that we have killed. So we have just a portfolio of them, and we work on them very rapidly to test and see which ones we should kill early, which ones we should pursue and put more resources into. So like this is one example, right? This is called Picky Locks, right?
Okay.
It's a simple game, obviously, but that's sort of the market, right? And then if you look at Picky Locks and then you look at Wacky Winter, right? So this game, right? This game looks 10 times more fun, right? Like, oh wow, there's Santa, elves, just smashing elves. Well, get this, it performed about 11 times worse than Picky Locks, right?
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah. So this was our portfolio project, right? So, and imagine we pulled 1 month of resources into Wacky Winter, and imagine pooling, this game was about a week, right? And it performed 10 times better. And if you just compound, if you think about the compounding value of your resources in your company, it doesn't make any sense to just leave it to guessing. But in the concept of an indie studio that has funding, and it's literally like, yo, you guys want 2 years to develop your game, here's all the money. What happens after the 2 years funding goes out, it's up to you, but you're secured for 2 years. Then it's perfectly okay. But in a company situation, not a good idea. Anyway, that's what I have to say.
Okay, just a quick question there to you. Now, you mentioned that you guys have a budget of around $1,000 for this. Now,
daily.
Daily. Oh, wait, that's daily.
Yeah, daily.
Okay, that's a lot of money there. Actually, that's why, this becomes even more pertinent now. For someone who doesn't have a budget like that, let's say an indie developer starting off, how could they go about doing this?
I mean, spending time with your friends, right? So at the end of the day, and if you think about the concept of an indie developer is someone who's building a game for themselves almost, right?
Yes.
So they're talking to their friend groups. That's more than enough for you to build a great game, is by your heart and soul is in this game. So you are naturally going to spend time with your friends being like, yo, do you think this part is cool? Do you think this part is cool? And if their friends start playing it, at least 2 of them, and 2 of their friends say to their other friends who he doesn't know, he or she doesn't know, and they download the game, that is more than enough market validation to know that an indie game, say, it all obviously also depends on how much money is being spent on the indie game. That's more than enough to know there's a couple thousand people out there that's willing to buy the game, which is it can be $100,000-$200,000 if a couple thousand.
Okay, but just one more question there. What are your friends really a reliable source of validation?
That's why I said if his friends start sharing it and download it, friends or cold emails, or you have a small blog and suddenly I have a friend.
It comes down to whether your friends recommend others to play your game. Yeah.
No, not even that might be not so much, but look, just put up a blog. It's way easier. A blog or whatever it is, YouTube channel. So I know someone who was uploading YouTube videos of his game, an indie game, and I think he has a waiting list of a few tens of thousands of people, and that's more than enough of a validation, right? On Steam. So yeah, he just put up YouTube videos, right? And that's more than enough for validation. It's the faster you get to validation, the more confident you're going to be pooling your resources into the project.
Right. Okay. Right. So now I'm just going to go back to the question we got from Sachindra. Now, what are the different roles in a game development team, like when putting together, for example, storyboarding, coding, 3D designer, and so forth? So, Poorna, can I start off with you? Like, could you touch on the 3D design and artistry roles, like in a game development team?
Yeah, actually, when it comes to that way, like there are like few categories that we can separate in the as a 3D artist from my side actually. So the first one would be like when it's come to the storyboard, there's a concept artist, and also from the concept artist, then we can go with the 3D asset creation. I mean the 3D modelers as well. So they are the one who's taking the responsibility to model these assets according to the way that concept artist has developed actually. So by taking all the references and also the when he start to model these things, after completing that one, there's another process called UV unwrappings. So that means like when you about to start the texturing part, which mean, and I mean, if I say that one in simply like to color these objects, so adding so colors and all. So when he start to texturing part, like there are like another artist who can do so much of texturing things. They are very good at like coloring, color matchings and everything. So, and after that, actually, there are like another artist responsible for the putting the skeleton, as we simply say, for the rigging part. So those are the one actually, they are going with the weight painting and also the rigging and everything, the fixing the skeleton so that they can, so that animators can use that one in a very good way. So, and also there are like animators as well who are responsible for creating, dealing with the timeline and also the character. If you say as an example, as a character, so they are the one who deal with the timeline and also the animations. So that is the combination of the whole product, I think. When you create the 3D asset as a pipeline, so then we have to move one by one to complete these all the things. It's not finished yet actually. So, and after that actually then there are like people who can assemble these 3D assets in a good way into the game engine. So, and after that there are like lighting artists, and also when it's work with the post-processing and stuff, there are so many things to be added as different roles. But when it's come to the Sri Lankan market, I think as you all know, like most of the people know game developer as a 3D artist or the developer. So I think after that one, like the development, testing, so there are so many things actually regarding these things.
Right. Thanks, Poorna. So, Thilina, I'd like to throw this question at you now. Could I know
actually,
how?
Yeah, I like to add some point to the previous question regarding testing and reiterating the design and everything. Like, yeah. So when you think about commercials, when you think about selling and everything, definitely we should target to make the best product that's going to sell best. But look at making a game in this perspective. Like, let's say you are an artist. Let's say, for example, let's take Leonardo da Vinci or someone. So some artist, okay. So he's drawing some picture, maybe some lady. So when he drawing that picture, what if we make changes like, if I make this lady a little more brown, maybe more people would like it. If I maybe make this lady a little more fairer, maybe some more people will like it, but someone else will not. So like that, if you influence too much on your concept, that kind of kills the spirit of the creation that you're going to make. What I'm saying, what I'm saying here is, it can lead to a complete financial disaster. Definitely, it can lead to a complete financial disaster. But I want people to think of it as in a perspective of making an art, like not just as a complete building something to sell. That's
but the thing is, that should not be in a company, because being an artist is not what creates output. Artists, you can be so abstract, and it finds a niche, and 100 years later is when the art gets appreciated, right? So I mean, also consider this: if the game developer is very close to the people he's building the game to, like he's a community member of like the game, he's naturally going to want, when he hears the feedback on the game, he's like, oh, you really think that's going to be much better in the game? I think I agree. And they come to the conclusion themselves, and then they go with it. Obviously, there's a filtering process of information. Otherwise, you're just going to hate the game you're building. Even the creators of Minecraft, right? The creator of Minecraft, he didn't want to hear anything people were saying, right? He just wanted to build a game he wanted to play, right? But consider his upbringing, and what he grew up with was very mass market, right? It's a big guessing game. If the fact that his UX and in the game is horrible, but people still adopted it. But then it boils down to upbringing, and we can't rely on those metrics for a company, right? That's why indie works. And if you're working with someone like that, it should be an accelerated program or incubator where you're funding the person or whatever it is. But in a company.
Okay, but actually now, in the interest of time, Anish, I'd just like to return back to the question, which is about the roles in a team. Like, Thilina, could I ask you now specifically, like, what are the technical and the creative roles you guys have in your teams?
Yeah, so actually, definitely programmer.
Okay.
And programmers. And so if I break down our current team, we have a separate person. Like it's not actually like too dedicated, but we have programmers, and we have a script writer, and we have a level designer, and we have a 3D modeling artist, and an animator. But when you have a small team, like maybe the person who does the 3D modeling can contribute to the process of level designing as well. And also the person who do the scripts can also assist with the art direction part as well. So it's kind of roles with multiple jobs.
Right. Okay. So it's like there's a lot of overlap, but really it's like creativity is like the one thing that's, uniform across all the roles. Am I correct there in that sense?
Yeah. So if you are a single person who's making a game, then of course you have to take care of everything, but that's a different case.
Okay. Yeah. It's like you're juggling everything at once.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, now on this topic, now there's a question from Joshua. Anish, I'd like to throw this one at you. What are some of the key skills needed to be a game designer?
I think game development is a very rapidly fast industry, and the tools are growing so fast. Unity is always pushing out new tools. I think adaptability and adaptability would be the key thing. I don't want to go into technicals of skills, because honestly, mindset is what like it's so secondary to get technically good at your work. But mindset is what drives that natural growth in technicality. So I think that the key skill is to be adaptable. If I was to try and put it into something tangible, what is some key skill? I think the ability to empathize with your users. If you can do that well, if you're the product lead, like you're managing the product side, you should be able to empathize with your users, in the sense you have a very sound mind. Like a lot of people who are very isolated or whatever it is, it's going to be very challenging for them to build a game that's fun for other people as well. So I think the product. I think we're getting some noise. But a game developer in a team, inside a team, I would say ability to prototype your mechanics very fast. I think that would be my key thing. If someone is able to forget the designs, forget all that stuff, and just focus on the game, because in mobile games, actually 90% of the success of a game is reliant on the mechanics, not the art. The art is completely irrelevant. So if a game developer comes to me and is like, look, I built 10 games and in the span of 2 weeks, 10 prototypes, and all the mechanics are complex and look fun, then that's a very, very good skill. Prototyping fast, that's amazing thing for a game developer. Yeah.
Right. So it's like have that mindset, be assertive, forget about techniques, but be able to empathize with the users and prototype fast, like test your ideas.
If you're in product, but if you're in the job role, then prototyping fast. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Poorna, now there's this question I'd like to throw towards you. This is from Sadev, which is, it was around AR gaming. So why is it that locally, and I would say even globally, there's not a whole lot of augmented reality games or similar applications? Are there any special barrier that's faced when developing these kind of experiences?
So actually, now there's a big trend of making augmented reality related games actually. So it takes some time to go with the world actually, because as I think like most of the people are always trying to make some games with AR because the experience is much better than what we are playing these days actually with a mobile game or the web based. And also there's another problem with the technical barriers, because like sometimes in local market, I think most of the people don't have that much a good level on this augmented reality application development part, because still they are like getting the knowledge from the outside of the country, and also they are going through so much of tutorials, so much of references from the outside of the country. So I think it will improve, but I think it takes some time to get the reach the market. I think when, as an example, if you get the Angry Bird augmented reality game, so it's like very interesting than playing in the 2D canvas, I think. So I think it takes some time to adjust with all of these, because AR and VR is still coming towards to the people actually. So I think it would take another few times to adjust with these things.
Right. Okay. So I just want to build on that question a bit. It's something I'm curious about. So do you think there's like a cost barrier in terms of, let's say, for example, things like a VR headset, perhaps? Now, VR, of course, yes, it's been the top talked about trend, like in gaming for almost about 5 years or so. But we've yet to see true adoption, like on a mass scale. A lot of players are still playing with the controller. So do you think cost is an issue there, or is it something else entirely?
Yes, I think cost.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Yes, Anish, you can continue. Yeah.
Poorna, you could continue and Anish can jump in.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll jump in later.
Okay, so I think the cost is a barrier in local market as well, because I think in Sri Lankan market only few companies has that devices, because I think they are much kind of expensive devices. It's when it's come to the category. So I think and also like people rarely buys these VR devices to use as a personal device. So I think like people not be able to experience that one because of that reason. So as an example, like there's a main company called that Oculus, and also they are providing VR devices like the Oculus Go, Quest, Oculus Rift, and Oculus Quest 2. So those are like very interesting devices. But the problem is when it's coming to the that barrier, from the budget, I think people always like they are like always giving up that VR devices. If they get something from the as a gift or something, like they will, then definitely they would like. But I think when we are going with the like personally, I think people won't buy this kind of thing for now. But I think when we experience from somewhere, like maybe from the university or exhibition or somewhere, then people would understand like there is a huge capability with this one. So first of all, we have to make sure that the trending is coming towards to the Sri Lanka, because from the internet and all, then that's a place where people think like, okay, I think we should buy and try this one, because like the experience and everything is pretty much better than the mobile and the web platform sometimes. So I think that kind of barrier is there actually. You pointed out the correct thing, I think.
Okay, Anish, you wanted to add something on that?
Yeah, I think the Oculus Quest was a huge leap for the industry. It brings accessibility to a large audience. We're actually looking into potentially going down something in the Oculus Quest route. I would say nothing before. Actually, I was prepared for something like the Oculus Quest to come out That was one of my main goals within the company, was to build enough resources that we can pull into a crazy Oculus Quest game. Because a lot of the people, like, consider one of the biggest hits in VR, Superhot. Or Superhot, no, that was another one. They pulled in so much resources, I forgot the name of it, but so much resources, and they didn't even make a profit, right? And it was I think RoboCop or it's like a robotic game. It's one of the biggest hits made by Unreal, right? They barely made any money off that, right? So it was not ready then, but now with Oculus Quest, I think the accessibility has gone higher, and now I really think the market is just waiting. I'm talking internationally, waiting for something good, right? A game that's good. Think about the Nintendo Switch, right?
Yes.
What is the only reason why you buy that device is because of the games, right? The exclusivity. And they won't be able, but I don't think Nintendo will be able to survive just based on exclusivity. They really need to innovate in terms of their business model there. But obviously they're selling like crazy. But I don't think just games alone would make them be a console winner and compete with PS4. But some stuff. So anyway, but yeah, I do think there's going to be a big surge. I think a lot of studios are going to come up and be working on the Oculus Quest side, pooling in resources. But until we start to see at least one of those companies make a hit game, once that comes about, like a big Oculus Quest game, suddenly all the studios are going to feel like very comforted going into the ecosystem. But I'm very impatient. I just want to start building something there and like see where it goes. But obviously the company needs to be at a spot where it's like justifiable that we do something like that at this stage. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, just before we enter the open Q&A session, I want to throw a bit of a tough question at both Anish and Thilina here. So over the course of at least the past decade, we've seen several game development studios come up, some with great talent, like for example, Dawn Patrol Games. They had veterans from various game development projects. But like in many cases, these indie studios had shut down. So I want to throw this question at both of you. How do you really build a sustainable business and keep going with building games? Like, what's the secret ingredient? So Thilina, do you want to take that up first?
Yeah. So when you maintain a studio that's dedicated for making games, so actually, we didn't start with the Arimac didn't start with the investment, like external investment. So it's like kind of self-sustainable system. So so because of that, so actually even for the studio, even though like people know us for Khanchild, people knew us for Khanchild for the first time, but Khanchild was just one project that we have done. So before that, we have done so many projects that have made so much profits than Khanchild. And so because of so at that point, it doesn't matter even whether we make a profit or not with the game. So so it's not just about making games. So this gaming industry is in that ecosystem. There are products and services related to this in this ecosystem. There are products and services that we can sell to other studios, other developers. So with that, there are avenues to make money other than selling the game.
Could you just touch on like what are these other avenues, like for the benefit of the audience?
For example, you can sell assets, and you can outsource your expertise to other companies, and so you can develop stuff like for other companies, like for marketing campaigns and everything. There are other systems like gamification things that we can give services as a studio. So for the for other companies, so those are in that ways we can generate money, generate income to the company. And also also not just that, so we can do stuff like YouTube channels and other. There is a separate content generation and everything. So with those
Right.
those
So it's
additional
about,
income streams,
right. So it's
we
like
can
building services that, around what you do, developing games, and then taking that additional income to keep going. Yeah.
yeah.
Is-
And also in Arimac, it's not just about games, games
Yeah.
and studios. So we do all kind of stuff. So we are kind of a self-sustainable ecosystem. So
Right.
even if you take a rainforest,
Okay.
since there is so much biodiversity,
Yes.
it's very stable. So it's kind of like that in here too. So yeah, I think that answers the question. So,
Yes. Thanks for sharing the Arimac perspective. Anish, do you want to share, like, from your perspective with Motion Miracles?
Yeah, so I see, like, the problem with like companies like Dawn Patrol, I don't want to name names, but it's another studio, working on a big product initially, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're putting all your bets in one. Like, we're talking about sustainability here, right? A game
Right.
developer trying to build a company needs to get that into their head. It's a very different ballgame when you're paying people versus when you're a university student who can live off of cup noodles in your mom's basement working on a game, right? So I think that's the most common scenario that really works out, is like, you are your sustainable studio, right? And
Okay.
until you're ready to sort of be like under consultation, like you build something really cool, you get some funding from a publisher or some sort of entity, like a lot of these times, these basement developers, right? They just build nonstop, and then suddenly they get traction in their community. They get approached by publishers saying, yo, we'll fund you for 2 years, do whatever you want in the next 2 years and do whatever, right? And then they work on the game because they already know, the publishers already know, okay, if you fund him for 2 years, him or her for 2 years, and they just make 10,000 sales, oh, we're great, they're gonna make so much money, right? So
Right.
so yeah, so I think that is one of the key things, is that if you're starting something on your own, and then also if you're product oriented, that is, obviously if you're trying to if you're not trying to wait for 3 years to build your game and whatever, you can start services and you can do your sales through there and create the sustainability there if you're paying people, right?
Okay.
But that was the problem, like with I think like companies like Dawn Patrol, is they went straight to a product, and the product didn't work. Multiple products of theirs didn't work, and then that didn't sustain the company, right?
Right.
And yeah, so that is also currently our approach, is doing services and client work, and then investing into the product scene. Because if you make one hit game, like one proper hit game, kinda, I didn't scale to the massive hit game level that would bring us a multi-million-dollar contract,
Okay.
right? So that one hit game is just going to make us like blow up, in the sense we have enough of funds, right? So
Right.
yeah, so I think that, yeah, just understand where you are at. If I was to advise an upcoming studio, where are you at? Are you a game developer? Should you pull in your own personal resources? Do you understand what it means to run a sustainable entity?
Okay.
And then, decide from there. I think it's very crucial.
Right. Right. So just before we jump into the open Q&A, Poorna, can I ask now, for aspiring 3D artists? Now, there is, of course, like a business where they can sell assets. Now, is there any places you would direct them that, once they finish the assets, they can go here and sell?
Yeah, I think actually I can direct them to Unity Asset Store, so which is a wonderful platform that you can sell your assets, and also you can earn good income as well from that one. But I think it
Right.
always you should go with your unique concepts, and also because if you can search with the Unity Asset Store, there are like the same assets, there are like thousands of assets in the same category. So
Right.
definitely you have to build your uniqueness, and also like if you are going to buy copy that concept from the other resources, I think I don't think it will be successful. So you have to
Okay.
definitely define your own concept with so much of the energetic pack, if you can put that one. So I think it would
Right.
be definitely come to a good level in the Unity Asset Store. So likewise, there are so many asset stores like in Unreal as well, then libraries. So there are multiple platforms like that so that you can sell your 3D assets.
Right. Thanks, Poorna. So now we'll be diving into the open Q&A session. So members of the audience, feel free to drop your message in the chat box to the panel. And if you have a question for a specific speaker, please just do mention that. So kicking things off, we already have a question for you, Anish, already. So how would a small company with potential initiate a conversation with a global company to build mobile games for them?
Right. I think, see, companies are very busy, right? And for you to take some of their time, it's very challenging. So what you need to do is almost work for them even before they pay you, right? In the sense, build a portfolio that is literally like, we are looking for people to work with that do this. And you literally go above and beyond saying, by the way, we do something way better and we're cheaper. And then it's so much easier to open the conversation with that, right? You're just saying you've already invested and you're trying to acquire them. If they don't work, go to another one, right?
Right.
So when we built Wacky Winter, that was really the objective, is to get the attention of people who understand, right? Like, consider this, in hyper casual, one of the biggest weaknesses in our industry is the fact that there aren't many large teams, right? So we presented a large team, and we presented a design oriented studio, meaning we had the ability to make designs, which is lacking. And we had a fast pipeline of development. And then when we pitched Wacky Winter to Voodoo, our first project, they gave us their head of publishing, which was the guy who made the hit game of the biggest hit games, all the biggest hit games, most hit games. They gave us 2018, 2019, and 2020, right? Now, so that that's you present something great and people will just flock to it, right? So build a good portfolio. It's the best pitch, because if you start talking and you're like shy or something, they're just going to be like, I shouldn't listen. But if you if you're shy and you have a good portfolio, they won't give a shit. So
right. So that's how you guys got into the partnership with Voodoo Games,
one
of the biggest mobile publishers in the world.
Yeah, pretty much. We were very naive. We were asking stupid questions. We were very proud about the fact that we built Wacky Winter in a month. And they were like we built this game really fast in a month. And they were like, usually it takes about a week, 2 weeks. And then I was like, shit, So, and they didn't give a crap, because they knew that we were, a new studio, and to build a game like that, like in a month for a new studio is pretty good.
Nice. Okay, so this next question is coming from Ishara. So I'd like to direct this one to Thilina. What are the best resources to learn game development?
Internet. One answer, internet. But actually, if I kind of elaborate that depends on what is the engine that you are going to use and what kind of a game you are trying to make. So based on that, the resource, what resource that you have to select depends on based on those factors. But anyway, you can find any tutorial freely available in YouTube if you are into video tutorials, and also based on depending on the game engine you select. You will definitely have a documentation, references, and official tutorials in their website. But that's just the development part. So before that, there is a designing aspect, or generating the concept and refining your concept and everything. So there are some for those things also, like in those, to cover up those aspects also, there are tutorials in the internet, basically YouTube, wherever you want, just Google search it, you will find everything you need. The most important thing is like don't expect to find exactly what you want there. So like, just if you are a complete beginner, just select some tutorial series and just do it, like complete something. Even though you don't understand properly, just complete it. So you will get some idea, even though you don't understand it 100%, you will get some idea. Then follow another, then follow another. So it's not going to be easy in any way. It's going to take a lot of time, of course. But if you enjoy
So,
that, then it won't be a problem.
right.
So yeah,
So it's this
I think that
continuous process of trial and error, like just
yeah,
find whatever you want on the internet and just keep trying, and then you'll
yeah.
eventually learn what you need. Okay, so this next question from Sasita is something I'd like to ask from each member of the panel. So Thilina, since you gave the pre-sounds, I'd like to continue here. What are the future trends you see in the game development industry?
Well, actually, I don't really, yeah, definitely AR, VR that will grow up more than in the current stage as the technology and everything grows up and the devices become available for more people than before. But other than that, I don't really see any big impact on the industry other than this, just keep things getting better. But regarding stuff like streamable media, like platforms like Google Stadia and everything, they're not readily available for Sri Lanka. But as the connections get faster, you will have more streamable games, and like you can select whatever the game you want in the library and you can play. Actually, there are platforms like that, but accessibility of those platforms are limited at the moment, mostly because of the connection speeds.
Right.
So that would grow up in the future, and as those parts grow back, as those trends improve, so we will get things like like real-time evolving games, because
Okay.
when things are live in stream, when the games are live in stream, I'm not talking about the usual live streaming, I'm talking about streaming games from platforms. So we can with those facilities we can we can develop stuff like continuously evolving games. I'm not sure how to explain that. So that could be a good trend in the future.
Nice.
So it's like variations based on the user.
Okay, thanks, Thilina. So Poorna, would you like to share your thoughts here?
Yes, I think I mostly agreed with Thilina, and also with the new concepts and the trending concepts like machine learning and also the AI. I think it will do a huge difference on the games side as well. So I would like to express my idea in the animation side as well, because we are moving on to onto the, I mean, when it's come to the animation part, it's really hard sometimes, and also there are like only few artists who can handle this one in a very perfect way. So now there's we have been doing some good approaches with the motion capture data. So I think it will do a very important, significant changes into the game industry in the future. And also from the assets, I mean the 3D asset side, there are like so many 3D scanners nowadays being invented. So I think they will help us to get the realistic objects into the games with a good in a very good optimistic way. So I think that kind of things would be added into the game development in the near future. Then I think our game would be like more comfortable for the users. I think we will be able to add, reach the more extra realism with the games. I think that kind of thing would be happen in the next few years.
Awesome, thanks, Poorna. Anish, your top trends for the industry?
I think games haven't tapped into a pretty large industry, which is education. I think it's a $1 trillion industry, and games they haven't made any significant mark in that yet. But I think as one good example of how games have, I think you probably know the company Duolingo. I don't know, they pretty much gamified the concept of learning a language really well. So to basically to make but everything is technically a game. Even a Google form is almost like a game, right? But I'm saying they basically were able to convert something like education, but into a gamified concept and entertaining, and they have like significantly more retention concepts in their education system, right? And they have no competitors, right? So I think that I think that games are going to start transitioning into a wide sort of, I call it like, I think I've heard this somewhere, it's called consumer education medium, where you build something entertaining, but it has quite an educational aspect to it, and it'll start being more accessible. I think, you know, schools will start integrating it. I think there needs to be an industry leader pushing the concept of games, right? In Minecraft, if people started teaching Minecraft at schools, oh my gosh, like there'll be geniuses coming up. There are so many Silicon Valley young entrepreneurs, you know, age 17 to 20, who have reached multi-million-dollar valuations in their companies because they played Minecraft, right? It's crazy. Right, they build calculators, they build games within the game, they built so many things, and that's their early debut of their personality, their voice, their talent, their technical abilities, their ability to socialize, so many things, right? So I think games have to make its mark in education next, but it has to be some industry leader really showing the way in terms of how that's going to be done, and that's what actually my goal is at Motion Miracles. And then the next thing I would say in terms of trends, you know, there are obvious trends like VR, AR, and all that stuff. AR glasses, games with glasses on, whatever it is. But I think the least obvious ones would be like education, and then I mean, it's not that big, but like I guess the scale of it. But then the other thing would be our industry right now, hyper casuals. It's not going away soon. There's so many young companies reaching $1 billion valuation very quickly because it's such a. I think about it like this: hyper casual. Candy Crush makes $5 million a day of revenue, right? And it's growing rapidly. Yeah, a day. Right? And it looks like a simple game, right? But it's very complex in terms of the like we can replicate a Candy Crush, but it makes no sense. But anyway, so I mean, I was recently approached by a publisher, Supersonic Studios. In 8 months, they were making over, I think, $50 to $100 million on hyper casuals. I'm like, wow. It's
so Anish, just to, in the interest of time, so I just like to summarize that. So I would say that your big trends that you see coming are the mark towards education, and then the hyper casual, which is just going to explode like in these coming years. Am I correct in that sense?
More like it's going to be very sustainable. It'll just continuously grow.
Right. So as we wind up, like we're still open to question, guys. Feel free to drop it in. So until then, Poorna, I'd like to throw a question towards you. So when you take AR and VR experiences, and for actually, I would say for any form of digital experience, the user interface is something that's crucially important. So when it comes to VR and AR experiences, what are the things that should be considered to make it seamless?
Yeah, actually, it's a kind of a good question, because the reason is like I have seen some VR experiences which are not comfortable with the vision of the users, because sometimes like when they wear the VR headset, they feel some kind of uneasy, because like in the VR headset we are generating 3D the world. So in that kind of situation, if the developer doesn't have any kind of knowledge how to deal with the real environment, and also when we work, as an example, if you take like a roller coaster VR application, so sometimes they might feel, some users might feel like kind of uneasiness because of the like miscalculation of the physics and all. Sometimes it may happen. So I think in that kind of situation, developer has a big responsibility from that side, and also from the UI UX side, and also like user experience. I think it's a different world, right? So I think the user would be able to deal with the graphical components, and also giving some suggestions. I mean, like the giving some orders. I need to play this one. I need to choose this one, like that. So I think when they are making some orders, there should be a very easy way that we have to present for the users. Then that's a place where they can select any kind of path, and also then they will see like, okay, this VR experience is much better. I mean, so same thing happened with the AR applications as well. So if you don't know how to deal with the UI UX creation part in the AR application, sometimes it would be more like credible, because I can suggest you like from the AR code, there's another example app, I think, as a package, so maybe you can download from the Play Store. And also there's a like
just in the interest of time, now if anyone wants to learn, you know, the fine art of, you know, building a user interface for the VR AR world. Like,
Yeah.
could you share any places that they could go to explore?
Yeah, sure. I think I was telling like if you can download the AR element, there's a package called AR element. So from that one, they are giving a very precise guidance how to place these kind of UI UX panels in the AR application. So you can simply download that one from the Play Store. So I think that is like a wonderful reference for the AR application creation part. And for the VR, I think most of the time you may have to deal with the references, because the tutorials, because like there's no any, I think there are a few packages as well that we can get from the SS store, and also they are like in the standard level. So I mean, practicing must be most important part with all of these things.
Right. So it's like practice and experiment and then test it out, like to see if it'll work safely. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So there's these two questions to Anish that I would just like to combine and would like to throw it towards Thilina as well. Now, what should you do when you're starting a company, and as a single developer, how can you get people to download your games? So Anish, I'd like to throw that question to you first, since it is directed at you, and then Thilina.
I need a bit more context. I think if at all, one person make his mobile game. Yeah, so there's a lot of scenarios where a mobile game developer goes and speaks to a publisher, one guy, and makes a hit game that makes millions of dollars for the developer, right? There's a lot of scenarios like that. So you basically, like, there's this New York-based developer who approached a publisher called Supersonic Studios, and then in 2 months he made his first hit game. In the next month he made another hit game. In the next month he made another hit game that's at least like $10 million or more, or some ridiculous amount, right? And he's a solo developer, right? It's fully possible. It's just how willing are you to adapt your skill sets to the industry that's at hand, right? Just hyper casual. Are you, if you're not adaptable in terms of your mindset and whatever, you know, this is very vague stuff. I can't really give you much of an action plan here in adaptability. But if you're able to adapt to the publisher's demands, to the user demands, you can do it really fast, right? And if you're able to, if you're a good developer and stuff, right? Okay, so that was the how to get downloads as a single developer. I have experience making in games. I'm getting messages. Okay, this was from Joshua, right? This question.
Yeah, one was from Joshua and another one was from Tuaharan. Tuaharan, I believe, was asking about the low cost, how you can get people.
And okay, that was mobile games, low cost. Yeah. Oh, right. It's very broad questions. I don't have much context about what they're really asking here.
All right. So, So Thilina, so if I may ask you then, like, now this is I would like to throw the question Joshua had asked, like, when starting a game company, what should a person do?
Well, first, it depends. Like, if it is your dream, like, you should not really have a choice. Like, you should be able to accept the failure, and then you should have the discipline to keep doing until you see the success. And also, you should know that, like, success is the exception. It's not the norm, it's the exception. So that means we see success cases in games, like this guy made million in this game, this guy made million in these games, but those stories are highlighted in the news, but there are more than that failures. So, but they are not highlighted in stories in news because they don't make interesting news. So first, if you are starting a company, then if you have money, like to be like, if you have funds to put into that, then it's not a problem. But if you don't have that, first you should build a business around that can make it sustainable. And then with that, you should go about with developing your game. So yeah, I think how to make it sustainable, how to do, what are the other opportunities that we can make money to get revenue, other revenue streams to the studio. So we talked about those things later, before.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks for that, Thilina. Anish, you're getting some very weird questions right now in the comment section.
I'm like, what? Yeah,
But yeah, so just to let everyone know, so the Q&A is still ongoing and we can still take a few more questions. So please feel free to drop them in the comments. So preferably related to the theme, but for anything else, I think you can reach out to Anish privately on those other stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I do want to add to like the starting a game company thing.
Sure.
So I just go ahead and do that. I think, you know, I think the main thing is like these days we get so much information about how you can fail to whatever it is, and you know, even in our case, only 1% of studios are able to launch a game with a publisher like this, and usually it takes 7 to 10 years at times, and we took a year, right? But the main thing is, what did we do? I think what we did was, I guess, fail fast and not even care that we failed. It's literally like we built 80 games in the last year, right? And it was like just rapid, just failing, and you know, it was a fight. You know, we had to really be in touch with our humanity in that sense, right?
Right.
We needed to be like there for each other, a team, and you know, it wasn't the best at the beginning. I didn't know how to deal with people at the beginning as well, right? So I think that I think if I was to mention anything to a upcoming entrepreneur, is get to know themselves, get to know their capacity, and be impulsive towards building your skills, right? You will never go wrong with being impulsive towards your dream and your goal, unless you're like hurting people and whatever it is. But and you know, you need to be careful with the finances, and when you hire someone, it has to be very clear to them. You tell them up front, this could fail, but I want you, me, to work together very, very fucking hard, right? And whatever it is that, and you have to have a vibe going, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. That's a very, very tough question to answer because there's so many different stories. But mindset and humanity is the main thing.
Right. Okay. So I'd just like to point out that Sachindra has just shared a link for anybody who's interested in building hyper casual games. There's a contest there, so you can check the link. It's in the chat box. So I'd like to throw this question now towards Thilina, actually now, and Anish as well. This is from Mithushan. How would you define, actually, I think this question is very focused towards Anish. Now, how would you define an MVP when building a hyper casual game? Anish, do you want to kickstart that? That's your domain there.
Yeah, I think I can show something visually. I think that's better. Let's go to here. Real quick, I'll screen share.
Sure.
Oh yeah, actually, I think we killed a bunch of games recently, so I can show those. But it's kind of confidential. Just keep it to us here. Crap! It's going live. Okay, it's fine. It's just
yeah, this is going live. So if you're sure, feel free to share.
Okay, I can share this one here. Oh no, wait. I think this one is killed. Yeah, let's go to mushy balls. That sounds wrong, but
okay, thank you. Making me feel better about that.
So this is like a dodgeball concept, right? We target a week to push a game and build a game.
Okay.
For one developer, right? And we try and make it as like, this looks so bad, right? Anyone from the outside will be like, this game can't be a hit or anything like that. But if you look at games that have generated like tens of millions of dollars, they look like this, right?
Exactly.
And there's a reason for that, because 90% of the game's success is the gameplay, right? So anyway, so this game performed quite badly, like really badly, so we killed it.
Okay.
But this is really MVP, you know, like we had so many concepts that we stress tested on. We like spent so much time. Whoa, what? Oh, I was getting confused. I'm like, how is there a mouse moving? Wait. Okay, yeah. So that's really an MVP. It's like what can you do in the least amount of time that has the most impact? So think about it like this: if you put it on a graph, high impact, low effort. Do the high impact, low effort stuff. Do all that first. You test it out in the market, right? And after that, you get the response, and then you're like, what's the next high impact, low effort thing? And it's usually in 14 days, you should be able to tell if that game could be a success.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Thilina, I'd like to throw this question at you as well. Like what you would define as a MVP for a hyper casual game, because you guys have dealt with a lot of hyper casual games way before you jumped into the AAA world, yeah?
Yeah, actually, we have a separate platform called Demi Games for hyper casual in games. So it's like we have internal tests to see what games perform best. But I'm not really. We don't really have a rule like to exactly answer that question. So it's like it's again comes to the usual like play testing and see what's good and what's bad. So it's based on the opinion of others. But then again, I also think that I'm not very good to answer that question, because yeah, even though we have a separate section in for hyper casual, I don't really follow that area much.
Okay, so I'm just going to take over because we are pretty much closing off the time. So I'd like to get closing remarks from the panel here. And I believe Ishara has given a great question to us to close things off, which is, what are the job opportunities related to game development?
In Sri Lanka?
Yeah, let's start off there. That's the key focus here, since that's our audience here.
Right. So I'll start here, yeah? Or I think, okay, so in terms of career path, since there isn't much of an industry here, and there's a lot of investment coming in from studios to do the training as well on the job, it starts at a very low amount, because we are literally paying people to learn, and that's the university's job. Right now I'm speaking, with a bunch of universities, and most of America is going to be integrating curriculum all over. So once that's set up, it's going to be better. So we can easily start it around, if someone is, can I show something real quick? I know we have not much time, but
just
I think
a quick glimpse, like we can spare.
Quick glimpse, because this is I think this will give a lot of good perspective on what we look for at for game developers. Okay, please load. Okay, quickly. Okay, it's loading up right about now. All right, sweet. So this was done. Let me screen share. So in our training, this was done by someone, right? We tell him to build this game. Like, we have not worked with him or anything, and we say build a replica of this game, and then he goes and builds it, right? So he has built this. Obviously, it's very laggy, but yeah, this is a clear indicator that this guy is like on his way, right? And then we go into a freelance model with the person so that he can train on the job, right? And when he onboards the studio, we can start them at around 120, 150. We have people going up to 300, and then there's also profit share. So there is a career path, and we're looking to get to international rates in terms of salary and profit share to the games that get launched and stuff.
Right, thanks, Anish. So Thilina, could you just share briefly, like, what are the opportunities you guys have at Arimac before Poorna can share what the opportunities they have in LiveRoom as well in the 3D design space?
Yeah, actually, we have at the most of time in the current at the moment, like we are looking for we are always open for exceptional people. It's not like even though we are at certain times we have like vacancies for this role, like maybe 3D modeler, maybe animator, maybe programmer, but we are always open for exceptional people. But it's not just that means like what people that who have done really well. It's more like we are open for the mindset of the people. Like
Okay.
For example, when I joined Arimac, so it was like 5 people, and I had no idea like how to make games, so I had zero experience. But still, my vision was to make games in Sri Lanka.
Right.
So then I got the opportunity at Arimac. So it's kind of like a platform to do what you dream of. So we have this kind of opportunity in Arimac.
Right. So you guys have like opportunities for basically any of the roles we discussed in a game development team earlier. Am I correct in that sense?
So there we make robots, human robots, we make AI, chatbots.
So pretty much anyone in the audience is welcome to walk through your doors and apply.
So basically, if you are willing, if you have a dream to do something great, we are open.
Awesome. Thanks, Thilina. Poorna, would you like to share about the opportunities you guys have at LiveRoom?
Yes, I think as LiveRoom, since we are based on the computer graphic based development, I think most of the time we are looking for like the 3D artists and also like the Unity and also the Unreal developers. I mean, from the career wise, right? So,
right.
And also like the concept artist. So that kind of position would get another, really good opportunities from LiveRoom actually, because completely we are based on that kind of thing. And also like we have good opportunities for the graphic programming side. So it's not as easy as we think, but it's like kind of a big hard programming side with the computer graphic related things. So I think that kind of people would get a definite chance at LiveRoom. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Poorna. And thanks a lot, Anish and Thilina as well, for all of your invaluable insights today. I believe the audience would have greatly benefited. So with that, Timeth would like to hand things over back to you for the closing.
Thank you, Mazin. Thank you very much. You were very much able to retain the energy in the house and make the session more meaningful and very interactive as well. It was really great to have you as our moderator. Well, that was a very informative and also a very interesting session. As I see the conclusion, it's not just about the resources, but it's about interest, it's about adaptability, it's about concepts, and most of all, it's about the developer. We all got an idea about Sri Lanka's game development industry and also about Sri Lanka's talent, misconceptions, trends, and many other interesting points. For that, on behalf of the IEEE Techno Meetup Sri Lanka, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Thilina Premasiri, Anish Wijesinghe, Poorna Perera, and also our very own moderator Mazin for enlightening today's session on game tech.